Thank you very much, Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين أما بعد فقد قال الله عز وجل في كتابه الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات. In continuation with our discussion on worldview, tonight we would like to discuss the aspect of justice and relate this aspect of justice to the 12th Holy Imam. Before we do this, I'd like to share some statistics related to today's world. You find, brothers and sisters, what I'm going to say right now is not new to you. It's not news. It's something that you are aware of. Today we understand, and most people are awakened to the understanding and the reality that we live a world filled with injustice. The world today is filled with injustice. Let me read you a few stats. In Canada, it is said that the top, 2 years ago, 2023, the top 40% of earners claimed 64% of total income. And this reached highest record last year. That the top 20% in Canada held nearly 70% of all wealth. So all wealth, 70% is held by who? By 20% of people. Housing affordability, record high. That it is, the average home prices is 9 times household income. This is Canada. If you look at across the globe, the top 10% receive about 52% of all income. 10% of people take 52% of all income. And the bottom 50% of people, so nearly 4 billion people, they share just 8% of the world's wealth. 50% have to fight for 8%, whilst the top 10 receive 50% more. From 2015 to 2023, The Guardian reports that the richest 1% amassed $33 trillion. The Guardian says that this is equivalent to removing global poverty 22 times. They can remove global poverty 22 times by the amount of money these people have raised. That these people earn $5.7 billion a day. $5.7 billion a day. And this is while in 2024, 700 million people, that's 10% of people, are in extreme poverty. Not just poverty, extreme poverty. These are just some of the stats to show that the world today is unfair. The wealth of today's world is in the hands of very few. And the rest of the world is left to poverty. Now we know this, we don't have to share these stats. You know how much we struggle on a daily basis to own a house, to pay mortgage, to pay bills. Whilst we know what's happening in that 1% of people of how much they're spending. I'll talk about Bezos' wedding in a second. This power, this wealth brings with it power. This wealth that the 1% has brings with it power. Through lobbying, through charities that will then go back and influence policies, government policies, influence parliament decision, influence where laws are passed and not passed, in which direction the entire society is going towards. All of that is directed and influenced by that 1%. You look at different think tanks, you look at different lobby organizations. These are all stats that you can find very easily. Just ChatGPT it, today's world. A Times report in 2015 said that the wealthiest donors have the most access to politicians. We saw what happened recently with Elon Musk and the whole situation. People realized that very openly now, wealthy people can come and influence in a very undemocratic way. Funnily, I'll give you some funny stats as well. You know Prince Charles, or King Charles, sorry. King Charles owns 20 billion worth of assets. Gets government funding of 86 million a year, just for being the king. Normal people, normal citizens pay up to 40% of inheritance tax. The monarchy pays zero. There's no inheritance tax for the monarchy. The king doesn't have to own a passport, because the passport is given by the monarchy, so the king doesn't own a passport. Doesn't have to own a driving license either. Wealth and power brings about this idea that people can be above the law. That the law applies to certain people, doesn't apply to others. Even Biden said it. 2025, his farewell speech in January, he says that there is a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And what does that do? That poses a threat to democracy, free speech, and equal opportunity. In other words, he's saying that wealth has brought power in the hands of certain people that are now above the law. The law doesn't apply to them. They can do whatever they want. And this is very dangerous. This is injustice. And we see it more and more that this world today is like this. It's a jungle out there. It's filthy, it's dirty, it's unfair. People die of hunger. You've seen the pictures. You've seen the images. Forget going out to Africa and other countries. Just over here in Canada, how many times you've passed the tens of homeless people that can hardly afford a meal or a shelter. And you might look just across the river of people living in mansions. Some of these rich people, the stats say that it's impossible for them to be able to spend that amount of money. They have so much money that it's not possible for them to even spend it in their lifetime. You require a more lengthier, normal lifespan that you will spend that money. And we have to realize that the system is made in this way that it profits only that 1%. And that we are stuck in that system. And the key is for us to realize, firstly, this unfair system. The Guardian had a report about this Jeff Bezos' wedding recently. $50 million wedding involving 96 private jets. The whole of Venus the city was disrupted. People had to be kicked out of hotels just so that this couple can have their hotel. Even CNN questioned this. Interestingly, Bezos, and this is from The Guardian, he has a charity organization for climate change. And the article is saying that On this side, they're spending money for climate change. Amazon is known to be one of the biggest polluters because of all the delivery. Forget that, the 96 jets have so much pollution. But you see, here we are trying to fund an organization for climate change, to protect climate, when the people within themselves are all doing the contrary to what they're supposed to do. Talking about climate change, top 1% of people, the 1% wealthiest people, they contribute to close to 20% of global emission today. The richest 1% do more harm to climate change in 10 days than what half the amount of people in the world would do in 3 years. That's how much destruction is happening at the hand of 1% of people in just 10 days, whilst the rest of us would take us 3 years to damage. Take deep sea mining as an example today. Deep sea mining is a controversial topic today. Deep sea mining is going into the depth of the ocean bed, mining the ocean bed for what? Because they found some important minerals that are used for electric cars and different things today, different new technologies. Complete irrespect for the fact there's an ecosystem, there's marine life. Things that take thousands and thousands of years to build. Beautiful fish, beautiful marine life. Like if you look at some of these videos, you wonder like, it's so beautiful in the ocean. Some of these corals. And this 1% will go and do everything to destroy that, just to get to those things that they need for improving and increasing their wealth. Brothers and sisters, these are just small examples. I haven't even talked about Palestine yet. Of how this world is unfair. This world is unjust. And this is not today. The Quran talks about this. The Quran talks about these taghut, these 1% that ala fil ard. They would rule over the earth, thinking they can do whatever they want, thinking that they are above the law. Thinking that they govern and therefore they have authority and therefore they can do whatever they want. They don't have any laws above them. You know this verse in the Quran about how people would take others as son of God. وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا. That Allah, they would say, these people would say, this mushrik would say that Allah has a son. Now I remember when I was before Hawza, I was always wondering like, why is this such a big deal? Okay, they took a person as son of God. Look at what the Quran says. وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا. They said that Rahman, Allah has a son. تكاد السماوات يتفطرن منه وتنشق الأرض وتخر الجبال هدا. Because of what they're saying, the skies are ready to burst. The earth is ready to open. The mountains will fall in ruins. And دعوا للرحمن ولدا. Everything is going haywire. The whole universe is crushing and crumbling. Why? Because they took somebody as a son of God. Like, why? Seriously? Like, why is this such a big deal? وَمَا يَنْبَغِي لِلرَّحْمَنِ أَنْ يَتَّخِذَ وَلَدًا. And it is not correct that anybody should say that the Rahman has a son. Why? Why is it like this? إِن كُلُّ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِلَّا آتَى الرَّحْمَنِ عَبْدًا. The situation, the reality is such that none of anything in the heavens and the earth comes to Allah except as an abd. The answer is this, that you know when they said that there is a son to God, what they want to say is this. Pay attention. They want to say that there are certain people that have privileges. What does a son of a God mean? It means that you have privileges, that you are above the law. In other words, Allah is saying when they did this, when they counted others as son of God, they opened a very dangerous door. What was that door that they opened? They opened the door of saying that certain people are above the law. Certain people have privileges that others don't have. Because he's the son of the king, he can do whatever he wants. Allah says this will crumble everything. The heavens will fall apart, the mountains will crash down. The entire society will collapse. Injustice will prevail. Why? Because of this one point. That you've opened the door to consider someone as above the law. Someone who has privileges. No, Allah says, only Allah has authority. Everybody else, everyone else, everything between the heavens and the earth comes to Allah as an abd, as a servant. Nobody is above the law. So you find that the Quran talks about the injustice, talks about how there are people who have authority over the world and who count themselves as above the law of Allah. They are the taghuts. And we see this today as well. We gave some stats. And we find that when Allah talks about this, He says, look, first point is that this is not correct. Nobody's above the law. Let me mention one more verse. وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ وَالنَّصَارَى. The Yahud, the Jews and the Christians, they say, نَحْنُ أَبْنَاءُ اللَّهِ وَأَحِبَّاهُ. We are the sons of Allah and those whom Allah loves a lot. In other words, they want to say, we have privileges. We are above the law. We can do whatever we want. Allah won't punish us. Straight away Allah says, قُلْ. Tell them, فَلِمَا يُعَذِّبُكُمْ بِذُنُوبِكُمْ. Why is it that Allah punishes you for your sins? In other words, don't think you're above the law. If you do a sin, Allah will punish you and Allah will destroy you. Just the way He destroyed previous communities. In other words, Allah straight away wants to say, look, the first point is this, that no one is above the law. Everyone is a servant. Everyone is equal. In one of the hadith from the Messenger of Allah, he says, فَأَنْتُمْ أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ عِبَادُ اللَّهِ الْمُسْلِمُونَ. O people, is addressing everyone. أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ, O people, all of you are servants of Allah. وَالْمَالُ مَالُ اللَّهِ. And the wealth that you have is the wealth of Allah. Don't think it is yours. And then you can do whatever you want with it. And you create that injustice that we see today. يُقْسَمُ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالسَّوِيَّةِ. Allah divides wealth equally between you. وَلَيْسَ لِأَحَدٍ عَلَى أَحَدٍ فَضْلٌ إِلَّا بِالتَّقْوَى. That don't think anyone is better than others because of wealth. A person is better than others only based on taqwa. Brothers and sisters, these are lessons for us. So the first point to realize is that in all of this injustice, Allah is very clear when it comes to the Quran. That we don't allow this injustice, that nobody is above the law. Everyone is equal. When you dig deeper in the Quran and the riwayat and uncover this worldview that we want to attain, you realize, brothers and sisters, that religion is that which brings about justice. People think that we can bring justice through different political systems. Yesterday was communism, today is democracy. Both say religion, put it aside. Communism say we don't need religion, it's unfair. We have a new system, a better system to make sure everybody is fair. Democracy said same thing. Democracy said secularism, right? We put religion aside, we'll have a new system to bring about fairness. All of these two came for what? Both of these political systems came for what? To say we want to bring equality, we want to bring fairness, we want to establish justice on earth. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. Have you seen the one who rejects religion? فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمِ. The orphans, they don't even pay attention to them. وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. They don't even encourage people to feed the poor and the miskin. In other words, those who rejected religion, if you dig deeper, you'll realize that no, There was no social justice that we were looking for. And today people are awakening. People are realizing, just the way they realize how communism was just a theory that never went towards justice, today we realize, where injustice? Where is it? That 1% of the wealthiest nations, you saw what they're doing with their wealth? Where is justice? Democracy never brought justice. And so you find, brothers and sisters, one of the purpose of sending the prophets, one of the goals of prophethood was to establish justice. Or in other words, it is the responsibility of the prophets to bring about social justice. The Quran says, Mubashirin wa Mundhirin, the prophets are good, they come with good news, they give good news, they warn you. وَأَنزَلَ مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ, and we send down the book with them, with truth. Why? لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ فِي مَا اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ, so that they would judge between people in what they differ between themselves, what they dispute. In other words, when there is a dispute, what is that source that will bring about justice, fairness? What the Kitab says, what the Prophet brought. Only in the court of justice? No. لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ, we've sent down the prophets with the clear things. وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابِ, and we send down with them the kitab, the book, wal-mizan, and the balance. Balance? The Prophet brought a balance? Allah, why? Why send down the bayyinat? Why send down the kitab? Why send down the mizan? What is the purpose of prophethood? Oh Allah, tell me, why do you send down prophets? لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. So the Prophet comes and establishes justice on earth. This is the goal of prophethood. This is the purpose of why Allah sends a person with the book to say, go and spread justice. Go and remove social classes. Go to Medina and tell Abu Sufyan that you are not above the law. That black slave and you, Abu Sufyan, you are the same. And this is why the moment the Prophet comes in and says, La ilaha illallah, what happens? Abu Sufyan says, no, we have to fight this person. Why? Because the Prophet came to establish social justice. The Prophet came and tell people, look, what's happening at this moment is unfair. Why is it that wealth is only in that 1% of people? Why is it only in the hands of Abu Sufyan and Abu Jahl? And the rest have to be slave, they have to work for you? This is not right. I have come, the religion has come to establish justice. This is the purpose of prophethood. Yes, ultimately when we establish this, then we're able to rise towards makarimul akhlaq and the perfect human being. But we require this way. We need social justice for us to become true human beings. And so this is very clear in the Quran, brothers and sisters, that the prophets came one after the other to establish this. They wanted to make sure that we establish a political system, a society in which the man who has been sent by Allah, who is the Prophet, establishes justice. And this is why when Musa comes, he goes straight to Fir'aun. Otherwise, if you think about it, like these two shepherds, they've come to say what? That there is a God? Good for you. No. Because they know what they're preaching is social justice. They want to tell that 1% that what you're doing is wrong. Don't count yourself above the law of Allah. So the purpose of prophethood is to establish justice. It's to divide the wealth in its correct way. To establish the law of Allah, because it is the law of Allah that brings about justice and fairness on this earth. Okay, but what about now? What about now? We are told that there will come a time when who will rise? We are told that there will come a time when a man from the progeny of that prophet will come, and what will be his mission statement? يَمْلَأُ الْأَرْضَ قِسْطًا وَعَدْلًا كَمَا مُلِئَتْ ظُلْمًا وَجَوْرًا. Mission statement of the 12th Holy Imam. He will come to establish justice the way it is filled with injustice. In other words, the responsibility, the purpose, the goal of the Imam and the coming and the Dhuhur is what? Is to establish that justice. This, brothers and sisters, is a worldview that we have. This is how we see reality. We see reality that mankind is filled, has a life in a society filled with injustice, where that 1% takes up wealth, counts themselves as above the law, do whatever they want, and it is God that sends a man to establish justice. And it is the law of Allah that is established by that person who comes from God as well, for that society to reach justice. And this is in our books and the books of Sunni as well. Sahih ibn Habban and many other books of Sunni narrate the same hadith. لا تقوم الساعة, according to one hadith, that not even a time would pass and the Qiyamah won't happen except that a man from my family of the Prophet, will come and filled ثم يخرج رجل من أهل بيتي أو عترتي فيملأ قسطا وعدلا كما ملئت ظلما وعدوى. A person from my progeny, the Prophet's progeny, will come and establish justice. In other riwayat, I will read the whole riwayat because there's many other points as well that we can benefit from this riwayat. Ali ibn Rida alayhi salam says, لا دين لمن لا ورع له. There is no religion for the one who doesn't have wara. Wara is to stay away from sins, as we mentioned yesterday in the bonfire as well. But wara is not just stay away from sins, it's to stay away 2 steps away from sins, to take precaution not to be close to sins. So there's no religion except for the one who has wara. Wala imana, and there's no faith liman la taqiyya lah, for the one who doesn't do taqiyya. Taqiyya is to be able to hide your faith. We live in societies where you have to hide certain part of your faith. Inna akramakum indallah a'malakum bittaqiyya. The best amongst you is the one who does his a'mal with a bit of taqiyya. So the companion asked the Imam, Yabna Rasulullah, ila mata? Until when? Until when do we have to do everything with taqiyya, with hiding it? قال إلى يوم الوقت المعلوم, until the appointed time. Which is the appointed time? وهو يوم خروج قائمنا أهل بيت. This is the time when the 12th Holy Imam will come. فمن ترك التقية قبل خروج قائمنا فليس منا. The one who doesn't do taqiyya until the Imam comes, he's not considered from amongst us. So then the companion asks, who is this person that you're talking about that will come? And he's the person who will rise from you. So the Imam says to him, he's the 4th from my descendant, in other words the 12th Imam. Allah will purify the earth from every injustice through him. He's the one whose birth will be doubted by people. He's the one who will have an occultation, a ghaiba, before his appearance. And when he appears, the earth will shine with light. And he will establish the scales of justice among people so nobody wrongs another. What a beautiful society he will create. He's the one for whom the earth will be folded and there will be no shadows. One of the signs of the Ahlul Bayt that we have is that they didn't have any shadow. A caller will call out from the sky. All the people of the earth will hear him. And he will say, the proof of Allah has come. The hujjah has come. قَدْ ظَهَرَ عِنْدَ بَيْتِ اللَّهِ فَاتَّبِعُوهُ. He has come near the Bayt of Allah, the Kaaba. Go and find him, follow him, and be with him. There's many things in this hadith. The point I want to come out with is this, that we find that our worldview is this, that in this unjust world, and we have to understand that there is injustice. In this unjust world, that which brings about justice is the law of Allah established through a man of Allah. This is the worldview that we build. Interestingly, this is a worldview that is not only for us during the ghaibah. This is a worldview that begins at the beginning of time. You've all read the hadith about how from the time of Adam alayhi salam, from Nuh and Ibrahim and Ismail and Musa, they would all wait for the zuhur to happen. We have so many hadith about how every one of the prophet would yearn for the zuhur. In other words, this is beautiful. Humanity from the time of Adam is like a caravan. It's all connected. Every prophet, one after the other, came taking one step further towards the establishment of justice, social justice. One after the other, they took a step. Each of them yearning for what? The final result, which will occur at the time of the 12th Imam. This is very important. And this caravan carries on. It is not that one prophet failed and we went backwards. No, we always went forward, always taking one step further. And this is why, for example, at the time of Amirul Mu'mineen, you find that Amirul Mu'mineen mentions the 12th Imam, puts his hand on his chest, وَأَوْمَا بِيَدِهِ إِلَى صَدْرِهِ شَوْقًا إِلَى رُؤْيَتِهِ, yearning out of love for seeing the Imam. Is Amirul Mu'mineen. He too is also yearning for the establishment of that true justice. One of the companions by the name of Sadir says, دخلت أنا والمفضل ابن عمر وأبو بصير وأبان ibn Taghlib. All four of us, we came, and these are big companions, very close companions. They came in the presence of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. على مولانا أبي عبد الله عليه السلام الصادق. فرأيناه جالسا على التراب. The Imam was sitting on the sand, on the bare ground. He was wearing an old cloak. He had short sleeves. And he was crying the way a mother cries when they lose a son, like a bereaved mother. And his heart was burning with sorrow. Grief was seen in his cheeks. There was his face, this is how the companion described it. His face looked different, how much he had cried. What was he saying? وَهُوَ يَبْكِي بُكَاءَ الْوَالِهِ الثَّكْلَ ذَاتِ الْكَبِدِ الْحَرَّةِ قد نال الحزن من وجنتينه. And then what did he say? He says, سيدي غيبتك نفت رقادي. He says, oh my master, your occultation has taken away my sleep. I'm not at rest anymore. The comfort of my heart has left me. This is Imam Sadiq crying for the 12th Imam. Really, we have to learn from these. When we recite Dua Nudba, this is how I should be reciting Dua Nudba. How I should be crying for the 12th Imam to come. Seeing the injustice that's happening today. Seeing how the situation in Palestine is today. The Imam carries on, your absence has made my sorrow eternal. And he carries on crying and crying. The companions, they say that when we saw this, we got affected as well. And we started crying as well. Our hearts shattered with grief. And we were overwhelmed with sorrow. Then after a while, we asked, oh my master, who is this person you're talking about, that you're crying about? What happened? The Imam, he sighs, he makes a very deep sigh. And then he says, I opened the book of Jafr, one of the books of the Imam in their hands that contains the secrets of the heavens and the earth. The book that contains the knowledge of death and calamities and tribulations and all that will come until the day of judgment. He says, in that book I saw and I read about the 12th Imam, his occultation, his delay, the length of his life, the trials of the believers in that era, the emergence of doubts in the hearts of people. And he carries on, he talks about the calamities in the time of the ghaibah. And that made the Imam cry. And so, brothers and sisters, this caravan carries on. Even today it carries on. Even today we are walking in the same footsteps. We are carrying on the caravan towards the establishment of that true justice. Don't think that because the ghaibah happens, that's it. We cross our hands, we'll wait till the Imam comes, see you then. No. It carries on. Just like every prophet tried to establish and took a step forward, today we too have a responsibility. To do what? What is the worldview? The worldview is that justice needs to be established on earth. Justice is when the law of Allah is established, when society is governed by the law of Allah. And who establishes the law of Allah? A man from God establishes the law of Allah. A wali from Allah, a man who knows the law of Allah. And very importantly, he himself counts himself within the law. He himself counts himself as an abd amongst other abd. That's how the Prophet was. They say a man comes to Medina looking for the Prophet. He comes to the masjid, everybody is sitting. He doesn't know which one of them is the Prophet of Allah. Look at the leaders today that we have in the Western world and look at this Prophet. And you can enter the mosque and you don't know which one's the Prophet. A slave is sitting, the Prophet is sitting, you don't know which one's the Prophet. That's how equal he was. So the justice of Allah, the justice in society is established through what? Through one, the law of Allah prevailing over society, established by a man who knows the law and is able to establish. And this person counts himself within the law, counts himself as an abd like all other abds. And this is a very important trait of the leaders. I focus on this because it's something that we can see today very clearly. There's a story where Ahnaf ibn Qais, one of the companions, recited Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, but as you come a bit in front so that people still can come in. Please move a bit forward, inshallah. As much forward as you can. Allah bless you, inshallah, and reward you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahnaf ibn Qais comes in the presence of Muawiyah. And when he enters the presence of Muawiyah, he sees Muawiyah sitting with a lot of good food in front of him. In that majestic palace of Muawiyah. When he sees this, Ahnaf starts to cry. Like tears fill his eyes when he sees this. So Muawiyah tells him, what happened? Why are you crying? He says, I saw what your state you are in, and I was reminded of Ali, alayhi salam. And I couldn't stop crying. So why? He said, one day, I was with Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he said to me, come have iftar with us. And so we sat down for iftar, and he said and before iftar, he said, we'll pray and then have iftar. He had a loaf of bread that he put in a bag and he tied it very tightly. Then nobody could open the bag. He placed it next to him and then he started praying. So after Salah, I came to Amir al-Mu'mineen and I said, you are not bakhil, you are not stingy. Why is it that you place this bread in a way that nobody should be able to take it? He said, I am scared that whilst I'm praying, maybe Hassan and Hussein will come and open and take this bread, fry it, cook it nicely, and then prepare it for me for iftar. I don't want that to happen. I'll eat the dry bread the way it is. This made Ahnaf cry. So he tells the Imam, is this haram for you? Why? So look at what the Imam says. He says, Ala a'immatil haq. It is upon the true leaders أن يتأسوا بأضعف رعيتهم حالا في الأكل واللباس. It is upon the true leaders, the a'immatul haq, that they should be the same with people when it comes to food, when it comes to clothing. A true leader is like this. Not like the 1% that rule over the world whilst others are hungry. A true leader, he eats and he dresses like the minimum, like the poorest of people. I remember a few years ago I went to Ziyarah with the group and we had the opportunity to meet Ayatollah Sistani. Allah protect him and grant him a long life. I had the opportunity to translate for the group. He mentioned a few points, I translated, and then they were told to leave. Whilst the people were leaving, I took the opportunity and I came close to Sayyid Sistani. I told Sayyid Sistani that I'm a Talabe from Qom. And he started to praise the ulama of Qom. And then he told me this. This a few years ago. He said that it is for the ulama to be close to the people. It is for the ulama to be close with the people. He said to me, he said, I cannot tell you about how I've lived 70 years in a small room, only at the service of people. And we know, it's famous, the abada he has, and the abada he hasn't changed for decades. This is our leaders. One of the commanders by the name of Sayyid Rahim Safawi says that we had a meeting with Ayatollah Khamenei, and that meeting extended a bit. It went a bit longer than expected, and time of prayers came, so we went to pray, and then the leader said, come and have dinner with us at home. So I said, no. He said, no, come. Whatever we have, we'll serve. I won't make anything special, just come. He said, we went to his house. For dinner, we had an omelette. That's it. That's all we had, an omelette. These are our leaders. These are the people that we follow. These are the people that establish justice on earth. They know the law of Allah. They want to implement the law of Allah on the earth, in the society they establish over, and they know that they themselves are not above the law. They themselves don't count themselves in a way that they are the 1%. No, they are with the people. Simple. Ayatollah Shahrudi says that when I went to see Ayatollah Khamenei, I went to his library because of some things that we needed. He said that chair and that table that he sits on to study or whatever in his library, he says that it's so old, it's before the revolution. You look at today, some of their leaders, what kind of houses and palaces they live in, and that 1%, what kind of wealth they have. And you find our leaders, and it's not because they don't have wealth. If we were to understand how much money passes through the house of Ayatollah Sistani on a daily basis, I spoke to some people, and it's mind-blowing how much money passes through that house. Same Abba. Don't need to change my Abba. Same small, tiny room to live in. These are leaders that are able to establish the law of Allah. So brothers and sisters, this is the worldview that we need to have. The real worldview of Islam is that justice is something that we need to work towards. That we have a responsibility to establish justice on this earth. Today the situation is not fair. The world that we live in today is unjust. Alhamdulillah, may Allah bless these Palestinians that have awakened us to this reality. The world is unfair today. But at the same time, we realize that it is Allah's law that brings about justice, not democracy, not communism, not any political system. It is the law of Allah that is going to be able to bring about justice, and that requires a leader that is also part of that law, that counts himself within the law as a man of God. That is the worldview that we have. 3 practical points, inshallah, I'll end. The first point with this worldview is that we need to know our leaders. Brothers and sisters, we need to know our leaders. The Quran is very clear. يَوْمَ نَدْعُ كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. That every one of you, every single one of you, and myself included, on that day we are raised and we are called. How are we called? They won't call me Miqdad, come here. No. They will call me with my imam, with my leader. Who do I follow? And so we have to be very careful. Who are our leaders? What kind of lifestyle do I have? Who do I follow? Who do I count as my true leader and my imam? This is very important. Second point, brothers and sisters, today a lot of activism is happening. A lot of protest and awakening towards social justice. Very good. This is a very different discussion. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I want to mention one point about this. This worldview has taught us what? That justice cannot happen unless and until the law of Allah by the man from Allah. Correct? And so any social activism that we are involved in, you find today, this is not only done by Muslims. Non-Muslims come, right? With all the protests, a lot of non-Muslims comes as well. No problem, we help each other. But your worldview is clear. That you can do however much noise you want to do. The best of activism you want to do. Social justice will not happen unless and until it is from God. Unless and until it is a man from God who is going to establish it on the earth with the law of Allah. Otherwise, we're wasting our time. This is an important practical point. The last practical point that I'd like to mention is that if we understand justice, then brothers and sisters, at a personal level as well, we should be people who abide by justice. We should be people that really believe that we should be fair in everything. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina bil qist. O people, be of those who maintain justice. This is talking to believers. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina bil qist shuhada'a lillah walau ala anfusikum awil walidaini wal aqrabin. Even in those very difficult moments when it's either being fair and just or giving privilege to yourself, to your parents, to your children, to people who are close to you. Let's always remember, brothers and sisters, that justice and establishing justice should be priority over my own benefits, over my family, my friends. No. Whether you're my dad, whether you're my son, my uncle, my best friend, there is no privileges when it comes to justice. You remember what we said? That door that people open, that there is a son to Allah, Allah said the mountains crumble, the heavens come down on the earth. Don't open that door. Close that door. Nobody gets privileges. Nobody when it comes to the law, when it comes to justice. And so we over here, the Quran is telling us, you should be like this. Establish justice. Always be behind the truth. Always be behind haqq and qist. This dua that we have, that we are told to recite today, you've heard the ulama, the scholars say, recite this dua 14 of Sayfatul Sajjadiyah. We saw this dua by the ulama for the Palestinian issue and also for the latest dua that we had. In this dua we are told, Allahumma fakama karahta ilayya an adlima faqini min an adlam. Oh God, just that you have made it something that you hate, that I be wronged, also protect me from doing wrong, from doing dhulm. We don't like that dhulm is done upon us. We too should avoid doing dhulm to others. And so it should be the way we live. It should be a lifestyle that we are always people who establish justice. We will work towards making sure that we follow the truth only, follow justice only. I'll give you another example. You know when we are arguing about something, you're debating with somebody, even with the Sunni brother, let's say. With the Sunni brother, you're arguing and you're debating, and he says something that's true. If he says something that's true, be fair. Tell him, yes, you're right. You have to. Al-insaf. You're right. When it comes to being fair, when it comes to haqq, it doesn't matter who is in front of you. If it's haqq, you abide by haqq. If it's fair, you deal with fairness. In marriage, in divorce, between a father and a son, parents and children, at work, at university, in your exams. We go to school. In your exams, be fair. Don't cheat. In business, don't cheat. Qawwamina bil qist. We as believers, based on this worldview that we have, we stand with fairness and justice. Let's go towards Karbala. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله. Brothers and sisters, as you take your hearts towards Karbala tonight, let us first go towards Baqi. Why should we go towards Baqi tonight? This is because we want to remember Imam Al-Hasan alayhi salam. Brothers and sisters, Imam Al-Hasan is known to be the Kareem of Ahlul Bayt, the generous one amongst the Ahlul Bayt. Tonight, as you've gathered here tonight to cry for Imam Al-Hussein, tell Imam Al-Hasan that we have needs and we have du'as. There are people in our families that might be ill. There are marhumeens of our family. We have brought them all together today to cry for your brother or Hassan, and that we hope from your generosity. It is said that on the last days of the life of Imam Al-Hasan, he tells his brother Hussein, he says, "Oh my brother, this son of mine," what's his name? "The son of mine by the name of Qasim." At that age, at that time, he was a 3-year-old boy. He tells Hussein, "Be a father for my son." At this point, Imam Al-Hussein takes Qasim as his own son. But this is the son that reminds him of his brother. This is the child that he takes and protects so much, sometimes more than his own son. Because this is the reminder of his brother. This is the amana from his brother. Now let us move towards the night of Ashura on the plains of Karbala. When Imam Al-Hussein gathers all the companions and the family members, he switches off the light and he pledges the allegiance. Inshallah, we'll mention this on the night of Ashura. After every pledge that has been made and the companions shown their determination, the Imam tells them that you will all attain Shahada tomorrow. You will all become martyrs tomorrow. At the back of the room, at the back of the tent, there is a 13-year-old boy. He's looking. His face is calling out. He's trying to say, "What about me? I haven't been told anything yet." فَقَالَ لَهُ الْقَاسِمْ يَا عَمِّي. The Qasim comes to his uncle. He says, "Oh my uncle, وَأَنَا أَقْتُلْ أَنَا أُقْتَلْ will I also be killed tomorrow?" This is a 13-year-old boy. He comes to his chacha. He's come to his uncle. He's an orphan. He comes to his ammu. He says, "Oh ammu, will I also be killed tomorrow?" فَأَشْفَقَ عَلَيْهِ. The Imam looks to him with a lot of love. He looks at him with a lot of kindness. And he says to him, "How is maut for you? كَيْفَ الْمَوْتُ عِنْدَكَ?" How is death for you? It is as if the Imam doesn't want to answer. Let me see what Qasim says first. Qasim says this sentence that remains in the history for all of us. "Ya ammi ahla min al-asal." Oh my uncle, death for me is sweeter than honey. This is a child that has been brought up in the house of Hussein. But look at what Imam al-Hussein tells him. He says, "Oh Qasim, yes, you too will attain Shahada tomorrow." However, the Imam adds one thing. He says, "بعد أن تبلو بلاء عظيما." You will also attain Shahada, but after you face a very difficult tribulation, after you go something very hard on you. Oh brothers and sisters, what is this hard thing that Qasim will have to go to tomorrow? What is this bala'un azim that the Imam is telling him? Let us go to the day of Ashura. On the day of Ashura, every companion goes to the battlefield. The loyal companions acquire their martyrdom until the last one. Ali Akbar then goes to the battlefield. he too attains Shahada. At this point, this young boy, this orphan of Imam al-Hassan, he comes to his uncle. He wants to ask his uncle for permission. He tells him, give me permission. The Imam says, فَأَبَى الْحُسَيْنَ أَنْ يَأْذَنَ لَهُ. The Imam says no to him. Sorry, I can't let you go. The scenario is very different from how Ali Akbar went to the battlefield. Imam al-Hussein doesn't allow Qasim to go. Qasim goes from this side to that side. He goes to his mother. What can he do? He's yearning for this Shahada. On this side, the uncle cannot let him go. You are the amana from my brother. How can I say yes to you? The Qasim comes to Imam al-Hussein. The Miqdad says he comes and kisses his uncle's hand. فَلَمْ يَزَلُ غُلَامْ يُقَبِّلُ يَدَيْهِ. He kisses his hand. Oh my uncle, please let me go. Oh my master, I want to go and fight. They both cry a lot. They both shed tears. But the Imam allows Qasim to go to the battlefield. At this point, Sheikh Mufid narrates that one of the people on the other side, Humayd ibn Muslim, says that I saw a young boy enter the battlefield. His face was radiant like a moon. He had a sword in his hand, but he was wearing normal clothes. This is not a soldier. He had simple sandals in his feet. He says, I remember the laces of one of his sandals was open. This is a young boy coming to the battlefield. He's a heart full of love and sincerity. But Qasim comes with bravery. This is the son of Ali. He comes to the battlefield. He starts to recite his rajas. In tankiruni fa'ana far'ul hasan. Sibtul nabiy al-Mustafa al-Mu'taman. If you don't know who I am, then I am from Hassan, the grandson of the Prophet Mustafa, the trusted one. هذا الحسين كالعسير مرتهن بين الأناس لاصقوا صوب المزن. This is a Hussein imprisoned between men whose reign will never quench. As he recites this rajas, this bravery is showing from him. He comes to the battlefield and he starts to fight. The Miqdad says he kills a few of them. But oh Allah, what do you say about the son of Imam al-Hassan who has been thirsty for a few days? Weakness starts to show in his body. Slowly, you can see that the enemy is overcoming him. One sword upon the other, one arrow upon the other, until a man from the enemy comes and he hits Qasim on the head. So hard that he falls to the ground. When Qasim is hit, he calls out. Who does he call out? This is an orphan. He calls out, Ya Amma. Oh my uncle, come to help me. Sheikh Mufid says that the Imam rushes towards Qasim the way an eagle rushes. He wants to go and protect Qasim. He wants to go and find out how he can help Qasim because Qasim called out for help. But oh Allah, at this point, the enemy thought that Imam is rushing towards them. So then the horse started to go from one side. The horse is trying to trample the body of Qasim. This is a young boy of 13 years old. He's not wearing anything. Suddenly the hooves of the horse is on his chest. Humayd says at one point, brothers, this is the scene in Karbala that shakes the hearts. Take yourself to Karbala, let these tears come. Humayd says after a short time we saw the dust settle. He says we saw Imam al-Hussein next to the body of Qasim. He was hitting the ground with his feet. What was he saying next to the dead body of Qasim? He's saying, oh Allah Azza wa Allah ala ammika. It is so difficult upon your uncle that you call to him and he can't answer you. That you ask him for help and he cannot help you. It's as if he wants to say, your brother gave you to me to take care, and now you called out to me and you could not even come to help you. But this is not the end. Brothers and sisters, the Maqtal says, the Imam picks up the body of Qasim. It is a broken body. It is a body that has been trampled under the hooves of the horses. The Imam takes the chest of Qasim. He brings him next to his chest. He brings the chest of Qasim next to his chest. The Maqtal says from the Rawi, he says, I still remember how Imam al-Hussein is holding the chest of Qasim, and the legs of Qasim will drag on the ground as he's taking him back towards the tent. Sabran ya bani umumati. Sabran ya ahl bayti. These are the words of sabr that the Imam is telling the women and the family. Have patience as he places the body of Qasim in the tents. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un.